Good afternoon. I'm Susan Grissom with Grissom Law Firm. We're located in Johns Creek, Georgia, and I'm licensed to practice law in the state of Georgia. We focus in estate planning, uncontested probate, and small business law. Today I want to talk to you about Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts, or MAPTs. A MAPT is an instrument that's put in place when we anticipate that someone might need to have Medicaid to actually take care of them in their old age, or when we know that they're going to need Medicaid, or when we just want to make sure we've got some asset that's protected if everything should go badly and we don't necessarily anticipate that we're going to need Medicaid, but some of my clients just want to be sure there's a small pot of real estate or other assets that pass on regardless. A Medicaid Asset Protection Trust is an irrevocable trust by nature. It's designed so that when assets are put into it, they're removed from your estate and from your control, so that if you were to go and apply for Medicaid, you're not going to have to disclose those assets because you no longer own them. When we put Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts in place, we're going to name someone who's going to be the trustee to manage that, because you don't want to have control when you're applying for Medicaid, or those assets would be considered available assets. So we'll name someone to manage the assets. We'll name some lifetime beneficiaries, people who could actually access the assets during your lifetime if needed. And then we're going to name beneficiaries who receive those assets upon your death. In addition to this, we're going to actually work through whether or not we're putting real estate into this home, and the ability to include provisions for you to maintain that home as your residence, even though you're not the owner any longer, and to maintain your homestead exemptions in the state of Georgia. We always include these sort of provisions in any Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Why would someone consider this? Well, Medicaid is a very valuable asset protection if you don't have adequate income. Perhaps you have a home, but your income is extremely low. The cost of going into a nursing home could be so much that it would force you to sell your home and spend through all of the assets. If you were to set up a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, you can move your home into that trust. 5 years after you've done so, then the government is just going to look at the assets that are outside of the trust. So your income and any assets that you kept out, you spend those down, and then you're able to qualify for Medicaid. In today's day and times, when the average costs are continuing to go up, but are many times $7,000 a month, this is something that we find people who have less savings and less pensions and Social Security consider as a part of their plan to ensure that their children are left some sort of an inheritance free of any lien from the government if they were to have to go into long-term care in a nursing facility. Medicaid Asset Protection Trusts don't necessarily protect anything if we don't need that care. And what I mean by that is that asset is going to be protected from your creditors, but it doesn't mean that the income that you have doesn't have to be spent for your care. And so if you have IRAs, 401ks, if you have Social Security or pensions, those income assets are actually going to be used towards your care before the government will pick up the rest of the tab for your care. In some instances, your income is insufficient to cover that, and then we can work on other trusts that would help to get you qualified in addition to your Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. If you feel that you're not going to have sufficient assets to care for yourself long term and may need skilled nursing care, we're happy to help.